What a great day, okay? But we're in for a fabulous evening, I hope. Welcome to the Congressional Gold Medal Awards ceremony. Please stand for the posting of the colors and the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Staff Sergeant Chelsea Friedlander.
Staff Sergeant Chelsea Friedlander. Please be seated. In World War II, 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the 3133rd Signal Service Company, together known as the Ghost Army, operated as a top-secret unit. The unit's special equipment, techniques, and battlefield deceptions were known to the unit's members and to a few higher-ups in the Army, and to no one else. What a difference 80 years makes. Today's award of the Congressional Gold Medal to the Ghost Army celebrates, as publicly as possible, the contribution these brave and creative soldiers made to the Allied victory in World War II. The Congressional Gold Medal recognizes the Ghost Army's citizen soldiers, recruited from art schools, advertising agencies, communications companies, and other creative and technical professions. It also recognizes the 21 full-scale tactical deceptions the Ghost Army mounted from D-Day through May of 1945 that deceived the enemy and saved soldiers' lives. Achieving gold medal recognition was a campaign in itself. Many in this room tonight invested in that effort. You know what it took to get us here: personal visits, phone calls, letters, op-eds. But, and I don't think anyone here will contradict me, none of this happens without You're right. I wasn't contradicted. Rick's Ghost Army documentary and the book he wrote with Liz Sales got people not just interested, but excited to dig into this history. What an astonishing tale from World War II. And it has the virtue of being true. That's what we're here to commemorate and celebrate tonight. You know, the three words that are going to be said the most over the last couple of days have been the Ghost Army. The next most often stated 5 words are going to be this: ladies and gentlemen, Rick Beyer.
Richard. Thanks so much. Here we go. A little change of plans. Thank you. Well, we did it. After 80 years, we have finally witnessed the U.S. government award the men of the Ghost Army a much-deserved Congressional Gold Medal. Days like this do not come around very often, and I know I am trying very hard to live in the moment and drink it all in, and I hope you are too. And there's more to come. I have to say, you know, the question I got the most often from people in the days leading up to this ceremony was about the attire. What's the attire? What should I wear? People agonized about this. So let me tell you, you all look perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm going to be brief because I'm going to come back again. I know you've heard a lot of Rick Beyer, about Rick Beyer, etc., but I'm coming back again. But I want to thank the sponsors of the cocktail party and the dinner. The cocktail party was sponsored by the family of Anthony B. Young, the family of Alvin Shaw, Jackie Holmes, and the family of Lawrence Klein. And tonight's dinner is sponsored by Tom and Jerry Mayer. Thank you so much. Well, I want to introduce you guys to some people who have labored mightily the last 8 or 9 years to make this gold medal happen. Our board of directors. You're going to hear from them all tonight, but I'd like them to stand up to be recognized. Chairman of the board, Richard Mark, and is one of these people. Treasurer Carla Fortman, where are you called? Roy Eichhorn, whose father George Martin served in the 603rd. Carolyn Spence Cagle, whose father Joe Spence also served in the 603rd. These guys have been donors. They have been lobbyists. They have guided our initiatives over the last 9 years. And you'll be hearing from each of them individually later tonight. But first, let's celebrate the wartime efforts of the Ghost Army and the 9 years of effort that has led to today.
The Ghost Army Gold Medal Celebration.
Today, I rise to honor a group of men who played a crucial and unique role in the Allied victory in World War II.
It's amazing the fakery that we were able to perpetrate upon the enemy.
The 23rd Headquarters is the first unit in the history of warfare that was dedicated solely to deception.
Their mission was secret, but their contributions are now known and must be recognized with the highest honor that Congress can bestow.
And the mission was to try to be able to take 1,000 men and put them in so that 15,000 men could move somewhere else and not be detected.
So you go into each individual office as if you're entering another country. It took an extraordinary amount of effort just to get a single co-sponsor, and we needed hundreds of them.
We were going to be in show business where we set up one-night stands and like ghosts disappear.
Upwards of 80 to 100 offices I met with in person.
And you were wearing high heels all that time.
Yep, it was clip, 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 clip. It was long days. I don't think I saw the sun the entire week.
I learned a lot from this. It's a real eye opener. Truly, once in a lifetime experience. I really loved this.
It was, to be completely honest, extremely overwhelming to be lobbying my first time in person.
I printed out every single email that I sent out, and I actually scanned them all into my computer. I think I probably sent, roughly maybe 1,000 emails.
This is one of the most amazing things I've had the opportunity to support since I've been in Congress.
Today I ask my colleagues, again, both Democrat and Republican, to join me in giving these men and women the recognition that they really deserve.
I used to refer to us as the Cecil B. DeMille Warriors.
Stories of the creativity and innovation displayed by the members of the Ghost Army during World War II read like something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster script. The only thing missing is a Hollywood ending, where the brave members of the Ghost Army are finally recognized for their life-saving contributions to defeating the Axis powers during World War II.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass Senate 1404? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed.
Rarely, if ever, has there existed a group of such few men which had so great an influence on the outcome of a major military campaign.
We're recognizing veterans from the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the 3133rd Signal Service Company, or as we have come to know them, the Ghost Army.
You look in their faces and you see their eyes, you know that our bodies get old, but our souls do not. Our spirits do not get old. In their hearts, they are young men. They are still the same brave young men who are willing to sacrifice anything to serve their country.
May God bless these heroes and their families, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So we're rearranging our schedule a little bit, but tonight what we're going to do is we are going to present duplicate medals to the veterans who are here with us and the families of veterans who ordered them, and that includes all the people who have the knock cards that you have out there, and then the other people who've purchased medals, you're going to be able to pick them up afterwards outside. And then we're going to have remarks from our board and from Major General Stanton, and also before we do the award ceremony, we're going to hear from Representative Annie Custer, who's here with us but can't stay for the entire evening. So thank you very much. I'll return at the end for a closing word. Please enjoy the evening.
So President Joe Biden, as you saw in the photograph, signed the Congressional Gold Medal legislation on February 1st, 2022. And shortly afterwards, Senator Ed Markey and Representative Annie Custer, the original sponsors of the bill, designated 3 liaisons to work with the U.S. Mint on shaping the design of the medal. The 3 liaisons were President of the Ghost Army Legacy Project, Roy Eichhorn, who you saw earlier, whose father, George Martin, was in the 23rd Special Troops, and Stephanie Leach, whose father, Walter Leach, was in the 3133rd Signal Service Company Special, which carried out deceptions in Italy. Stephanie, if you would come up now, and we'll hear from Stephanie about the design process that resulted in the medals, which will be distributed this evening.
Words cannot express how honored I feel to stand in the presence of the Ghost Army veterans, their families, and friends. I like to think how thrilled my dad, Walter Leach, would be to attend the Congressional Gold Medal Awards ceremony and this fabulous affair arranged by the Ghost Army Legacy Project. In my mind's eye, I can see his smile and hear his excited voice as he worked the room, bending every ear he could find, sharing glorious tales from his time in the Army. I would love to regale you with one of those tales, but as you all know, these were top secret units, and my dad took that oath of secrecy seriously, to his grave. It was pure serendipity that I ever heard of the Ghost Army at all. After Dad died, I felt a great sense of loss about my ignorance about his time in the Army, so I started reading about the war, beginning with the 5-tome set written by Winston Churchill. After several years of reading, I jumped at the opportunity to travel to New Orleans and visit the National World War II Museum. The displays, uniforms, guns, airplanes, and boats were fabulous, and I savored every moment there. Then I arrived at the special exhibit room. The exhibit was entitled Ghost Army, the Combat Con Artists of World War II. I was fascinated by the inflatable tanks and guns, artwork, and old radio sets. There, in the center of the room, I spotted a glass display case featuring my dad's uniform patch, a devil thumbing his nose at the Germans, a patch I'd seen thousands of times in the back closet out at the folks' farm. That was the moment I learned my dad served in the Ghost Army. Now, I know Rick's been thanked a lot, but I'm gonna continue to do that. I would now like to express my sincere thanks to Rick Beyer. Without his patience, kindness, encouragement, and detailed instructions, we would not be here tonight celebrating our Congressional Gold Medal. Many of us worked as volunteer lobbyists. We wrote emails, made phone calls, and some of us even paid visitors to our legislators in Washington, D.C. to convince them to sponsor our bills. I'm a professional career counselor, so I know that managing volunteers is one of the most difficult types of management. I've been told it's akin to herding cats, to keep volunteers on task and motivated. But herd cats Rick did, keeping this magnificent enterprise alive and moving on track for 9 long years. Thank you, Rick. You were the right man at the right time and an inspiration to us all. And now for what you've all been waiting for. I'm going to talk about the design process and the medal that resulted from it. When we started working with the United States Mint, they suggested it would be a 2-year process, from signing of the bill to the presentation of the medal. We couldn't believe it would take that long, especially since we worked to make things go as fast as we could. Nevertheless, here we are 2 years and 1 month later. We began by creating a design brief for the Mint, explaining the history of the unit, what graphics we thought should be represented on the medal, and why. The Mint handed the design brief to various designers that they had worked with before. Some inside the Mint, some freelance contractors. We then held a kickoff Zoom meeting explaining the design brief to the designers. The first round of designs came back, and we expressed our preferences and asked for changes. Then the second round came back, and we selected the designs for the obverse front and reverse side of the medal. After lots of discussion, it was very satisfying that we ended up being unanimous in our choices. The Mint presented the finalists and our choices to the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee and the United States Fine Arts Commission, and then recommended those choices to the Secretary of Treasury, who made the final decision. These are the designs we selected, and we are very pleased with them. The front of the medal shows 4 types of deception used by the Ghost Army. The inflatable tank, representing visual deception, the sound truck, representing sonic deception, the telegraph operator, representing radio deception, and the soldier sewing the patch, representing special effects. If you look really, really hard, you might be able to make out the needle and thread he is holding. The reverse side features the unofficial insignia of the 2 units. The ghost represents the 23rd, and the devil represents the 3133rd. It's important to us to have both these visuals, since the 2 units are equally named on the legislation. It also presents the name of the 2 units and the 6 campaigns in which they took part, in Northern Europe and in Italy. We debated whether to name countries or campaigns and looked at designs that did both. This was the one that spoke to us. We did not know until the process was complete that the designs selected were both from the same artist, Justin Coons, an outside contractor from Utah, who has designed numerous commemorative coins and gold medals. 2 United States Mint sculpture engravers translated the designs into the bas relief art to create the medal. John McGraw on the obverse and Phoebe Hemphill on the reverse. They both worked out of the Mint's Philadelphia facility. The initials of all 3 are on the medals if you look hard enough. With us tonight is the person who oversaw the whole design process of the United States Mint, Senior Design Specialist Megan Sullivan, who did a fabulous job helping us navigate the process and ensuring that everything worked as smoothly as possible. Megan, can you please stand up? And can we please give the Mint a big hand for the work they did for us?
Thank you, Stephanie. I was privileged to meet Rick Beyer, I hesitate to say, but I guess I'm not going to hesitate anymore, 50 years ago at a small college in New Hampshire, Dartmouth College. And Dartmouth is well represented in the house tonight, right?
Yes.
I would like to introduce the representative who kicked this thing off in the Congress, got it rolling, and because it all has to start somewhere, the bill started in the People's House with the introduction by Representative Annie Custer, who, of course, was a classmate of Rick Beyer's at Dartmouth College. Representative Custer.
Thank you. It's a small college, but there are those who love it. All right. Thank you so much. What an honor to be with you again today. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be with you to recognize the veterans from the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the 3133rd Signal Service Company, or as we all know it fondly and lovingly, the Ghost Army. Wow, that celebration today was really something. That was a tremendous honor. I've been in Congress for 12 years, and I've never seen anything like it. So it was very exciting. Thank you. Very all of the hard work. Now, I know that similar to my colleagues from all over the country, and similar to those who served in the Ghost Army, we have guests with us tonight from all over this country. People have traveled from distant places like the McCades here from Keene, New Hampshire. Wonderful to be with you again. and from California, and from nearly every state in between. Thank you for taking the time out of your lives to recognize and honor the courageous sacrifice of the Ghost Army. We all know, thanks to Rick, the history of the Ghost Army, so I won't take your time recounting those stories. It's one of those topics, the further and deeper you get into it, the more you want to know. Instead, I want to take a minute to recognize the tireless work of so many of you that led us to this moment. Look around this room. Citizen lobbyists petitioning their government to recognize tremendous courage and grace. Passing this bill nearly took a decade, but it was truly a team effort. First and foremost, as he's been recognized many, many times, my friend, my colleague, my classmate at Dartmouth, Rick Beyer, who helped rediscover the Ghost Army and share their story of creativity and resilience with the world. It was Rick's idea to award the Ghost Army the Congressional Gold Medal. I was a brand new member of Congress. I had never heard of the Congressional Gold Medal, but I said, sure, happy to help. And I'm so happy and so proud to be with all of you, having made that dream a reality. In Washington, as you may know, most bills that pass are backed by powerful special interest groups that spend millions of dollars on lobbying. But the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act didn't have well-connected or well-financed lobbyists. Instead, we had all of you, a group of passionate citizen activists, too many to thank, but I want to name just a few. Bert Edelson, Doug McCourt, Keith Bluestone, Roy Eichhorn, Taylor Winkleman all spent countless hours lobbying members of Congress. Perhaps our most effective advocates were our teenage lobbyists, Madeline Christensen, Caleb Sinwell, Kimberly Jensen, and Reese Holmes. The passion the commitment, the perseverance of these young people to honor the unsung heroes of the greatest generation was truly an inspiration to me and to my colleagues in the House and the Senate. Not every teenager can say they helped pass legislation through Congress that was signed into law by the President of the United States, but they can. I'm so impressed by these young people, and I can't wait to see what they go on to do, and hopefully how many of them will one day serve in Congress. Of course, none of this advocacy would have been possible without everyone who donated time and money to the Ghost Army Legacy Project to support this kind of advocacy. I'm proud to have been a part of this tremendous team that pushed this bill over the line. I also want to acknowledge again the McCain family, the family of Mickey McCain from Keene, New Hampshire, who came all this way. Their father and grandfather, Mickey McCain, was an artist who joined the 603rd Engineering Camouflage Battalion in 1942, a subset of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Bringing his experience and expertise in stage and costume design to the Ghost Army, Mickey was one of the brave and creative soldiers who helped deceive the Nazis and win the war. As I mentioned during my remarks earlier today, this effort to honor World War II veterans is deeply personal to me. And all day long, I have been thinking about my father, Malcolm McLean, who also would have been 100 years old this year, who was a World War II fighter pilot. I told the story earlier. He flew 73 missions from D-Day to the Battle of the Bulge and was held captive in a POW camp at the same time and in the same theater where the Ghost Army was operating. When we were backstage with our veterans and gathering with Speaker Johnson and Senate President McConnell, Senator Susan Collins and I started talking about our father's service in the war, and it turns out they both participated in the Battle of the Bulge at the same time. So I can't help but imagine my father looking down from the cockpit of his P-47 Thunderbolt and not even knowing that below him were GIs holding off Nazis with inflatable tanks. I'm sure my father would be so proud to see his fellow brothers in arms recognized by the United States Congress today. It's an honor to be with you. Bless you. Thank you so much.
So, the time has come for the award of the medals. There was the award of the gold medal today in Emancipation Hall, but the medals that you see lined up here, the struck copies of the medal, we're now going to award them. And we'll begin with reading the order of the award. In accordance with Public Law 117-85, the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act of 2022, the following individuals are awarded the Congressional Gold Medal in recognition of their unique and highly distinguished service in conducting the deception operations in Europe during World War II. PFC Bernie Bluestein, 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Private John Christman, 406th Combat Engineers. And I'd like to ask members of the family of Keith McCain to come forward, please.
So can Roy Eichhorn and Stephanie Leach come up here, and can we have our ushers start with the other families who are coming up to get their medal? And they are coming on the stage, I believe. So we'll do it on the stage, and General Gebhardt, if you can come up and join me on the stage for this presentation.
For Edward Eugene Moshe, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting this award is his daughter, Alice Bosher.
For veteran John Jardy, the 603rd Camouflage Engineer, accepting the award are family friends of John and Rhonda Cooper.
For Robert R. Tompkins, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his grandson, Andy Tompkins.
For Ralph Ingersoll, Special Plans Branch, 12th United States Army Group. Accepting the award is his stepdaughter, Pat Schur. For veteran Jules Gilbert. Veterans, thank you. For veteran Jules Gilbert, the 23rd Special Headquarters Troops. Accepting the award is his son, Scott Gilbert.
For veteran Joseph R. Spence, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting is his daughter, Carolyn Spence Cagle.
For George A. Martin, 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting the award is his stepson and grandson, Roy and Eric Eifelin. For Octavio J. Martino, Signal Company Special. Accepting the award is his son, Martino, and daughter, Judith Venita.
For veteran William S. Nall, Signal Company Special, 23rd Special Troops. Accepting the award is John Martino, the son of Bill's best friend from the Ghost Army, Octavio Martino, and Neil Martino, grandson.
For Daryl Downing Repto, Army Experimental Station. Accepting the award is his grandson, James Heffling.
For Alvin L. Shaw, 603rd Camouflage Engineer, his children, Elizabeth Barham and Martin Shaw.
For John J. Smith, the 3132nd Signal Service Company. Accepting the award is his granddaughter, Elizabeth Boss.
For Allison Muir Severi, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his son, Theodore Severe.
For veteran Frederick Dale Vincent Jr., Headquarters 22nd Special Troop. Accepting the award is his son, Frederick Vincent.
For Albert, for Albert Raymond Albrecht, 3132 Signal Service Company, his children, Bruce Albrecht and Karen Skiba.
For veteran Olikio Boy Baca Derellan, 23rd Headquarters Special Group Headquarters Unit. Accepting the award is his son, Daniel Barella.
For Walter Leroy Leach, 3133 Signal Service Company, his daughter, Stephanie Leach. For Anthony W. Nestico, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his son, Tony Nestico.
For veteran Arthur Singer, 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting the award is his son, Alan Singer.
For Clyde R. Pethtel, Signal Company Special, his son, Patrick Pethtel.
For veteran Alfred Gallagher Berry, 3132nd Signal Service Company. Accepting the award is his nephew, Randall Folson, and niece, Catherine Urban.
For Anthony Bernard Young, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his daughter, Erica Vrib.
For veteran Philip Edelstein, the Signal Company Special. Accepting the award is his son, Bertram Edelstein.
For Albert Edward Tarbox, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his daughter, Hamler Dulcimer, granddaughter, Galen Gavitt, and grandson, Todd Dulcimer.
Veteran is William Sales of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting the award is his son, Michael Sales.
For James B. Stanley, Jr., Signal Company Special, his shoulder.
For Robert Conrad, 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Accepting the award is his son, Frederick Conrad.
For Frederick Ewing Fox, 23rd Special Headquarters Troops, his son, Donald Fox.
For veteran Richard Hyman Nitzberg, 406 Combat Engineers, accepting the award, and his sons Joel and Stanley Nitzberg.
For Harold A. Leno, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his granddaughter, Shauna Goldstein.
For veteran Sumter Q. Porter of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting the award is his son, Bruce Porter. For veteran George Anthony Rubb, 406 Combat Engineers Commander, his son Richard Rubb.
For veteran Joseph J. Passaro, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his nephew, John Passaro.
For veteran Earl A. Fenstermacher, the 3133rd Service Company, accepting the award was his son, Earl Fenstermacher, Jr.
For veteran Jack R. Schramm, 3133 Signal Service Company Special, his daughter, Carol Schramm Esch.
For veteran Samuel Joseph DeGaldi of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting the award was his granddaughter, Antonina Vassilou.
For veteran Joe J. DeCisis, 3133 Signal Service Company Special, accepting is his sons and daughter, Dennis DeCisis, Stefan DeCisis, and Trish DeCisis.
For Donald C. Meade Jr. of the 3133rd Signal Company Special. Accepting the award is his son, Andrew Lead.
For veteran Herbert R. Thomas, 3133 Signal Service Company Special. Accepting the award is his daughter, Karen Lauer.
For veteran Elvin Howard Raff of the 3133rd Signal Service Company. Accepting the award is his son and daughter. We have Stephen Raft and Joey Raft.
For veteran Elwood E. Wrench, 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting is his granddaughter, Janet Brockhurst.
For veteran John T. Cantrell, Signal Company Special. Accepting the award is his son, David Cantrell.
For veteran John J. McGlynn, 3132 Signal Service Company Special, his sons, Jack and Michael McGlynn, and Bernadette McGlynn Davis.
For veteran Elmer Millibrand of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting the award is his daughter, Chris Millibrand.
For veteran Jacob Goldberg, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his daughter, son and granddaughter, Linda, Lowell, and Molly Ayer.
For veteran William J. Harney Jr., Signal Company Special. Accepting the award is his son, William Harney.
For veteran Irving Stemple, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his daughter, Stephanie Bristol.
For our veteran William Burton Skelton Jr., the 603rd Camouflage Engineers. Accepting the award are his daughters Ann Best, Belinda McKinney, and Helen Lewis.
For veteran Stanley B. Nance, Signal Company Special, his daughter Shanae Nance Christensen and Michelle and for great-granddaughter Madeline Grishitsa, Board of Lobbyists.
For veteran Jack Massey of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting the award is his widow, Beverly Paya.
For veteran Oscar Miles Seal, 23rd Headquarters Special Troops Headquarters Unit, accepting the award is his son, Kim Seal.
For veteran Irving Mayer of the 406th Combat Engineers, accepting the award is his son, Robert Mayer. And his great-nephew, Stephen Hustet.
For veteran Manny H. Croft, 3132 Signal Service Company Special. Accepting the award is his son Ivan Croft, his daughter Shelley Elias.
For veteran Marion Pasterson.
The Sarge.
Say again. Pastor Sidge. Of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting the award is his daughter, Pamela Pastersick, and son Raymond Pastersick.
For veteran Mark Lordy, 406th Combat Engineers, his daughter, Marianne Zabia.
For veteran Lloyd E. Gravel, Signal Company Special, accepting the award is his son, William Gravel.
For veteran Theodore Katz, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting is his son Richard and nephew Bill. And yes, Bill and Richard.
For veteran Thomas Roach, 3132nd Signal Service Company, accepting the award is his daughter, Tricia Amond, and granddaughter, Jana.
For veteran Meyer Kaplan, Signal Company Special, his son and granddaughter, Gary Kaplan and Andrea Groff.
For Nicholas Leo, Signal Company Special, accepting the award is his children, Nick, Andre, and Michelle Leon.
For veteran Ronald Wanderman, Signal Company Special, his son Stefan Wanderley, brother Carl, and daughter Susan.
For veteran Paul Agustin Lahive, the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, accepting the award is his daughter, Karen Lahive.
For veteran James L. Stegg, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his wife, Donna Stegg.
For veteran Patrick Edward Kiley of the 3133rd Signal Service Company, accepting the award is his daughter, Chris Aya.
And for veteran Lawrence S. Klein, 603rd Camouflage Engineers, his son, Michael Klein.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the presentation of the medals. I'm going to ask everyone to get up and give a big round of applause to the families, the Ghost Army, and the Medal Committee. Okay, so that concludes the awards ceremony. We'll be having music during dinner, a jazz duo based in the D.C. area, Sarah Zhu on vocals and flute, Austin Stahl on guitar. Give them a big hand as they get cranking. Dinner will be served. Talk among yourselves. I hope you'll, as we continue this day of celebration, that you will indulge us in a few more remarks about this remarkable piece of history that we're celebrating. 80 years ago, this June, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, the start of the campaign against the Axis powers in Europe. On the scale of, say, geologic time, a subject that my daughter, a marine geophysicist, deals with, right? 80 years is an instant of yesterday when it is past. It's different when you consider things on a human scale. We all know that after 8 decades, the living memory of the D-Day amphibious assault and of World War II is just about gone. We honor the Ghost Army today so that the unique work of those soldiers will be remembered. When Congress voted to award the gold medal and it was cited the major actions of the Ghost Army, it's like putting up a monument and telling the nation to look, to learn, to think about what this unit did that helped win World War II. And thankfully, we have more than the act of Congress and the medal itself to mark the memory and the work of the Ghost Army. With generous donations of material from veteran families, the Ghost Army Legacy Project collected artwork, diaries, letters, photographs, patches, all of which help to tell the story of the unit and that reveal in great detail, through artists' eyes, civilians and soldiers in the theater of war. You can see some of that artwork. Many of you have looked at it, I'm sure, at the Ghost Army Legacy Project website, and if you haven't visited lately, take a look. There are interviews, hours and hours of them conducted by Rick and some others. They are preserved so that future generations can learn about the unit and what it did, learning it from the veterans themselves. Scholars and students will have this material available in order to discover and rediscover all the crazy solutions that human ingenuity can devise to win a war. And I bet generations to come will find out about this and think, as we all do, that the inflatable tank is both the most preposterous and the coolest deception tool ever. So thinking about what all this material means and what it signifies calls to something, at least to my mind, something that Thomas Jefferson wrote concerning an account of what was for him a manner of current events. In September of 1817, Jefferson wrote a letter to John Adams, and he commented on an item that he had enclosed with the letter, and this is what he wrote. He said, "I have lately received a pamphlet of extreme interest from France. It is Duprat's historical recital of the first return of Louis XVIII to Paris. It is precious for the minutiae of the proceedings which it details, and for their authenticity as from an eyewitness. Being but a pamphlet, I enclose it for your perusal, assured, if you have not seen it, that it will give you pleasure. I will ask its return because I value it as a morsel of genuine history, a thing so rare as to be always valuable. Authentic eyewitnesses of the Ghost Army were at the Capitol today. They are here tonight. Their accounts and those of other unit eyewitnesses are preserved. And in the Ghost Army story, we have a morsel of genuine history. That Congress took the time to appreciate that history and to decide that it merited gold medal recognition confirms just how wonderful a morsel it is. Thank you. And now I would like to welcome to the stage Carolyn Spence Cagle, another board member of the Ghost Army Legacy Project.
Good evening. It's such a wonderful experience to be with you this evening. I need to pinch myself knowing that we are finally here for this momentous occasion, honoring the men whose creativity and sustained actions in some 20-plus World War II campaigns laid the foundation for tactical deception. It is with profound honor to be in the midst of the Ghost Army community tonight and to deliver some short remarks. My father, Joseph R. Spence, was a member of the Ghost Army 603 Engineer Camouflage Battalion Special 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. He was actually recruited by an individual from the Army in his freshman year at Edinburgh State University. Those of you that may live in Pennsylvania know where that place is. Very small liberal arts university at that point in time. He and his cronies decided, hey, let's go do it. Let's sign up. Let's become part of this movement to really help the Allies in this war. And so they went and they signed up. My father was an artist, predominantly watercolors, and he had an artistic career throughout the rest of his life before he actually retired. So anyway, my family didn't know much about the Ghost Army. I think to some extent my father didn't talk with the three daughters because he thought that we really didn't want to hear some of the horrible things that he had experienced. I do remember him talking about certainly blowing up the tanks and working with his colleagues on some of these deceptive tactics and that kind of thing. But he also really focused on the displaced person camps and just how difficult that was to actually spend the time trying to corral all these different ethnic groups into some kind of, basically peace, I guess, because they were still warring against each other. And that was a part of the war that he really did not really feel comfortable talking much about, except that it was part of his job toward the end. My father was a very ethical man, not uttering a word about the war efforts until given permission. And you know when that happened in 1996? And slowly he came out of his shell and he said, hey, I got something I got to tell you, 5 kids, and also my wife, because nobody knew. So anyway, once he actually opened up that hard shell, I guess, and all those memories, he told my oldest brother about how he thought he had met Albert Einstein when he was going through his training at New York University. He said, hey, I've met this guy that had all this fuzzy, crazy hair. And he was sitting in the cafeteria, and I just sat down next to him because I thought, oh, what an interesting fellow. And so he really believed that that was Albert Einstein. The rest of us weren't quite so sure, but it was really fun to listen to it. And then once we knew about the Ghost Army, then there was a flurry of activity among the grandchildren and the children in multiple avenues to go ahead and actually publish the event. So over the years, and you know how many years that was, because you've heard about it, we really participated in public media events, grant development, bicameral lobbying, and fundraisers, and all those different things. Whenever we were called upon to utter a voice, he said, we're with you. We're going to go ahead and be part of this movement. So anyway, I wanted to be a member of the Ghost Army Legacy Project Board and contribute to a strong and informed foundation to deliver the gold medal in today's supreme ceremony. What a wonderful day this has been. Overall, I think our journey to this day has been full of challenges, but also opportunities. The sustained and committed efforts by so many fueled our success to reach today's glorious events. One of my favorite quotes as I volunteer in my community in Southwest Missouri is everybody helps, everybody wins. And I think we all have bought into that we are a community that really has lots of power when we exert our voice. I also ran across this quote when I was preparing some of my remarks, and I thought it really sums up the progress that we've made our journey. As one has said, greatness is not evaluated by what each of us has accomplished, but by the opposition we have overcome to meet our goals. And here we are. So it's wonderful to be with you. It's my pleasure to introduce Roy Alpine, one of my colleagues on the Ghost Army Legacy Project Board, who can now come up and give us some more information about his father. We'll do another introduction.
It was a little difficult reading the names and meeting family members because these were names of people that I knew and family members that I had talked to for years. So I apologize if I choked up from time to time. Each member of the board comes to this story from a different direction. And in my case, it was my stepfather, George Martin, who was an artist and had been a member of the 603rd Engineers. And when he talked about the war, all he said was he did camouflage work. No big deal. And that pretty much dropped it. He never mentioned that he was the unit photographer or that he'd gone into Normandy or across France, where we went through the Battle of the Bulge in the beginning and then crossed the Rhine. But there were a few things he told me that I filed away. And when I started my career in the Department of the Army in 1979, I started asking around. Nobody in the Army seemed to know anything about it. The existence of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the insignia of the 603rd, that was on the wall of the Fort Belvoir Officers Club, but nobody could tell me why. So I went further, and there is a file container for the 603rd in the Engineer Historical Office. It is properly marked, properly indexed and inventoried, and empty. So as my career advanced, I kept trying, and I started to doubt. And Army Manual FM 90-2, Battlefield Deception from 1988, for example, includes World War II deception examples. There isn't even a hint about anything like the Ghost Army in the official doctrine of the Army at that time. The break didn't come from the Army, it came from the intelligence community, and it turns out that Ghost Army veterans have been working with the CIA and still work. And from that, I was able to find one veteran and another, and it kind of spun out. Each veteran was a treasure. Their families are terrific. The veterans as a group are wise, infinitely curious, and adaptive, and amazingly accomplished, as you've heard some of those examples. I had the honor of having 3 officers from the Ghost Army who served as mentors. Colonel Cliff Simonson, who was the operations officer of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Big John Walker, and if you'd ever met him, he was Big John, from the 3132 Sonic Company, and then Major General George Rebb. And of course, his advice was always outstanding. That was something he said very often. He commanded the Combat Engineer Company and then later commanded in the Corps of Engineers, which is where I started. So we had a slight overlap, although I didn't meet him till later. But my promise to them was that I would educate the Army and the public on the value of deception and on what they had accomplished. Because again, it was absent from the Army. So over years of research and interviews, I was able to put together research and write bits here and there for authors Philip Gerard and John Gaughan, who were both writing books about the Ghost Army at the same time. And I always thought, oh, that's going to be awkward, we're basically 2 guys writing the same book. But each book is quite different and worth reading in its own right. And I built the Ghost Army into educational material at the Army Management Staff College and started to spread that knowledge. And I also got to use the Ghost Army when I was a guest instructor at the Military Academy and Systems Engineering Department, which is a fitting place because there were a significant number of West Point graduates who were part of the deception efforts, everywhere from lieutenant on up to 4-star general. Eventually, I got a call from a documentary movie producer from the oddly named Plate of Peas Productions. He said his name was Rick Beyer, and he wanted to do a movie about the Ghost Army. I am tremendously grateful to our dean and our commandant at that time, who both said, go for it, and they provided tremendous support and further research. So when the movie was completed, that seemed to sum things up, and one day Rick called again, as he is inclined to do, and said, hey, what do you think of trying to get a Congressional Gold Medal for these guys? Hey, I've been in D.C. for a while. I'd been up on the Hill now and again, had spent decades in the executive branch, and I said with no irony, sure, sounds great. It's bipartisan. No one will get mad at their representatives for voting for it. And it's the right thing. So how hard could it be? Well, after my very first office call, of which there would be more than I can count, so many, I slowly realized what irony looks like in real life. I want to mention a large group of soldiers in the Ghost Army that, in my view, didn't get enough attention. I mean, we talked about the inflatable tanks and the sound effects and all great stuff. But the soldiers in the 23rd Signal Company, and the Signal Company was split into radio and telephone. During deceptions, the radio operators moved as real units do and only broadcast fake material. It was all scripted and all very carefully laid out, just as a real unit would do. The real operational communication went on over telephone networks. That they had special telephone linemen, and they created complete, like they were doing a city. And that prevented any real radio signals from getting out to the Germans, because the Germans couldn't crack into the wire. The signal soldiers took a lot of risks. They were in areas close to the front where there might still be pockets of the enemy. Small teams of radio operators, and this isn't in the official history per se, but we've nailed some of this down. And one of the surviving veterans who couldn't be with us tonight was one of these fellows. They were borrowed and they went behind the lines to support real operations. Telephone specialists went behind the lines too, and their job was to sabotage German equipment. Another example is in the Battle of the Bulge. 2 Ghost Army privates were dropped off behind the lines, and they passed messages between the commanders and the cut-off units through damaged phone lines where they were in a shelled telephone exchange. Sometimes German soldiers were no more than 20 feet away, sheltering under the cover of what was left of the porch. And so the guys are there on the phone having to connect one wire, disconnect it, talk back and forth. They couldn't connect the wires together because of the technology, so they had to pass messages. So they would get word from General Bradley, tie up another set of wires, ring into somebody else and say, General Bradley says do X, Y, and Z. The 2 Ghost Army soldiers maintained contact throughout that with the 101st Airborne that was besieged in Bastogne through the entire siege. These 2 18-year-old privates. With the award of the Congressional Gold Medal, I think my promise to my dad and to my mentors about and the families of the soldiers and the public has been kept pretty well. I had the honor of continuing to work with the Army organizations like those of the PSYOP community who have taken up the mantle of deception and are doing great and wonderful things that they can't tell you about. So with that leads me to introduce our next speaker. Now, I got to be honest, at this point, one normally says, it's my pleasure to introduce. Yeah, not. It isn't. I am delighted to introduce Major General Paul Stanton. Major General Stanton is the commander of the United States Army Cyber Center of Excellence and Fort Eisenhower. I will let him explain what that is. And Major General Stanton represents the epitome of what a senior leader has to be in today's environment. Broadly experienced, able to see issues in context, while addressing constant challenges with technology, with resources, with people, and with politics, often in combination. Not easy jobs. He is a graduate of the Military Academy at West Point, which produced so many officers involved with the Ghost Army, and spent 20 years as an airborne infantry officer. He served in both Afghanistan and Iraq, and was up front commanding an infantry company with the 101st Airborne in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He is a scholar, holding 3 degrees in computer science, including a doctorate, and he leads a command that deals with some of the most complex problems. He's also a teacher, developing the next generation of leaders in the Army, and therefore, take all that together, what better person to talk about the Ghost Army's contributions and where they're leading. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Major General Paul Stanton.
Now the pressure's on. Got to live up to that intro. Thank you, Roy. Hey, so let me first just offer a heartfelt thanks to the Ghost Army Legacy Project for inviting me to participate in today's events. My team wrote me a speech. I'm just going to wing it if you don't mind. Thanks. Hey, so what I've recognized through the course of the day is that this is a family in this room. There's so much connectedness of the individuals, the descendants, the friends, the family members of those that served in the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the 31st, 33rd Signal Company. It's amazing to me to watch that. And it's indicative of what we aspire to be as currently serving Army service members. The opportunity for me to personally participate today to offer my gratitude to the greatest generation, your family members, and then personally be able to sit down and have conversations with Army soldiers, Christman, Bluestein, and Nussetbaum. It fills my heart, gives me a great sense of pride. I recognize that my responsibility today and expectation for what I do is to connect our currently serving Army to those who set the foundation and set the conditions in World War II, which was just incredible to think about. So I am the commanding general of the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Eisenhower in Augusta, Georgia. Everybody's hands have got to be tired. You have clapped so much through the course of today, all deserving. I don't deserve clapping. The honorees certainly do. But there's, as I read Rick's book, and as I studied the Ghost Army, when Roy invited me to participate in the ceremony, I was overcome by the overlap between what the Ghost Army did and the conditions they set with what we're currently doing in our Army. Like you, the Ghost Army, there were no doctrinal manuals when we set up the cyber branch. The Army has lots of manuals, but none that describe this is how you execute cyber operations. Just like there were no manuals that said this is how you conduct multi-domain deception to fool a very competent adversary in Nazi Germany. Like you, people are our most critical asset. Highly skilled technical soldiers that have the ability to execute effects in the cyber warfighting domain 24/7, 365. In fact, they're in a windowless, nondescript building executing missions while I'm standing here talking to you. Diverse set of actors, artists, fashion designers, folks that have the science, technology, engineering, art, math backgrounds to be the innovators, to think about how to put complex problems together with meaningful solutions. That's the same talent that we're recruiting in and maintaining and developing inside of our cyber workforce. I have to offer special admiration for the development of the anechoic chamber as I was studying the Ghost Army, as we have one up in Aberdeen Proving Grounds where we have a tank-sized vehicle inside so that we can measure the emanations and radiation of energy as we study electromagnetic warfare. In fact, we're building an anechoic chamber down at Fort Eisenhower so that we can continue to train our next generation of electromagnetic spectrum warriors, developed based off of the needs of the Ghost Army. Like you, we operate in secret. One of our subordinate units has the motto, "Pierce the shadows." Our soldiers, again, are operating constantly, continuously, but they don't go home and talk about what they do. Just like the humble servants in the room with us tonight, who for decades remained silent and kept their hard work and significant accomplishments secret for the betterment of our nation. Like you, we recognize that we have to put the entire domain together in order to effectively conduct deception operations. It's visual effects, it's audio, it's communication signals, all have to be put together, and they have to look real. I was amazed at studying the Morse code operators that had to have the same exact touch as the individual that they were mimicking so as to effectively deceive our enemies. Imagine our cyber warriors that have to enter into a social media chat run and look exactly like they belong there in order to achieve effects. There's so many similarities. And again, we take those lessons from our forebears. This concept of putting it all together In today's modern vernacular, we are actually writing doctrine. We're evolving the doctrine for what we call information advantage. How do I put together the message that I need to deliver, the truth that we need to tell through public affairs, and combine that with deception from our friends in the psychological operations community? Combine that with effects that we can achieve through the cyber world. Combine that with electromagnetic effects that we can radiate through the electromagnetic spectrum in close contact with our enemies. But you have to put all of that together, just like the Ghost Army put together audio, visual. My personal favorite, I wanted to be the private that got the masquerade as a general and go into the bars of town. I'll take that job now, as a matter of fact. Our tools are changing, but the lessons are consistent. We have to put all those tools together. When we look at the electromagnetic spectrum, we think about things like position, navigational, and timing, our global positioning systems. Those sorts of things are the decoys of today. We still could use a couple inflatable tanks. I took some notes and made me carry that bag with me. But as we inflate that tank, we also have to stick a small software-defined radio next to it so that it emanates the electromagnetic signals so that we fool the enemy who's trying to watch us. We fool the enemy who's trying to watch us from space. We fool the enemy who's trying to watch us with a set of binoculars on the hilltop. Have to put all of it together, just like our forebears in the Ghost Army. We have so much to thank our Ghost Army veterans for. In a recent article, I saw a member of the Ghost Army ask the question, was our service meaningful? Well, tonight, tying the past to the present, I can say with a heartfelt and emphatic, yes, it was. It is impossible to prove a negative. We can't quantify the tens of thousands of lives that the Ghost Army efforts saved. Just like we can't prove the negative of what we're doing in cyberspace operations today. But without a doubt, the service was meaningful. Congratulations to everybody in the room on a hard-fought, well-earned, and long overdue Congressional Gold Medal. Thank you for offering me a few minutes to provide some insight and participate in your ceremony. And I hope that I have earned my way into being a member of your family. I look forward to the reunion. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Rick Beyer, who is the president of the Ghost Army Legacy Project. I think you already know that. Obviously, Rick has an intense interest in history. While living in Lexington, Mass., Rick and his wife, Marilyn, directed and wrote first-person drama presentations and tour narratives that transformed the Lexington Historical Society, educational programs, and celebrations that surround our big day, Patriots Day, which comes up in April. Rick and Marilyn have led 4 Ghost Army tours of sites in England, World War II sites in England, France, Luxembourg, and Germany. As friends and participants of the 2018 Ghost Army tour, my husband Tom and I, and many others in this room tonight, came to know the depth of his historical knowledge. Rick always seems so relaxed. He has a quick wit and a ready smile, and yet he must have a more serious side in order to get so much accomplished. One can easily say that he's a people person, easy to chat with, always interested in what people have to say. He always seems to find the stories that connect us, and connect us he has to the amazing story of the Ghost Army. Gentlemen, Mr. and ladies, Mr. Rick Beyer.
You guys have listened to a lot of speakers tonight. It's coming to a close. Hang on. Thank you, General Stanton, for those fantastic remarks. Fascinating to hear. I also appreciate Representative Custer speaking to us. And I want to thank again my fellow board members, Richard Mark, Carla Fortman, Carolyn Spence Cagle, and Roy Eichhorn, who have been fantastic to work with for the last 9 years on the efforts that we have made. They are awesome people. I want to thank the sponsors of tonight's event. I want to thank my wife, Marilyn, who has been my partner. Yes. Who has been my partner through every moment of this journey. Many of you have told stories in the last few days about Googling and discovering the Ghost Army online. And I think that we should give a shout out to two people here who are really responsible for the Ghost Army material on our website. There's my sister, Catherine Beyer-Hurst. If you can stand up, if you're to do it tall, please stand up. Kathy runs our bio project. She has done more than 436 bios, and she's continuing to turn them out. And so if your veteran does not have a bio on our website, go see Kathy, and she can help you to make that happen. And I also want to call out Donna Albino. Donna, where are you? Are you here someplace? Donna Albino, who has added so much material to our website, collections of transcribed letters, all sorts of material, and we're going to have to talk next week about what your next project is. And those two guys are really what give us such a rich, rich website. Tonight, we relish a sense of triumph. Therefore, I want to take you back to my lowest moment in the gold medal effort. It was 7 years ago, Wednesday, November 15th, 2017, at 10:30 in the morning. I sat in the basement of a Capitol Hill office building with a sinking heart as pessimism poured from the mouth of the man sitting across from me. His name was Joe Pinder. He had a long face with a hangdog expression. He was the epitome of a world-weary government bureaucrat. And I had been told that Joe Pinder was the man to see about a gold medal. He was a staffer on the House Financial Services Committee, a gold medal guru. I went in with high hopes. But the forecast I got from him was 100% doom and gloom. He kept repeating the phrase, "I don't want to discourage you, but it's going to be nearly impossible. But all the citizen lobbying in the world is only going to get you part of the way without some big guns behind you," which was wrong. But some in the House are opposed to group gold medals, and they'll probably block support even if you build widespread backing for this bill. But. And I walked out of that meeting shaken and profoundly distressed and wondering, not for the first time, if the gold medal was a ridiculous idea, an impossible mission. Not long afterwards, I wrote to my fellow board members that it might be time to examine whether or not to continue with the gold medal effort. And some of our donors were questioning whether this was a good use of resources. I was on the verge of letting the whole thing go. And what prevented me from quitting, what kept me in pursuit of the gold medal, was you, all of you. Because over the years, I had met so many veterans and so many family members, and I simply did not know how to go back to say, "I'm giving up." But I was exhausted. I was burned out. I knew we needed help, and where did I find it? And again, it was you. Instead of quitting, Roy Eichhorn and I had made a lot of lobbying appointments together and learned a lot. But instead of quitting, we changed our approach. We invited people to join us in the lobbying effort, and you responded. Some people came to Capitol Hill. Some lobbied on Zoom. We set up open source lobbying on our website so that people could figure out how to do it themselves. Some people made phone calls. Others wrote op-eds in local media. And with your help, we started to move the needle. Now, many people this week and tonight have thanked me and congratulated me, and I am happy to acknowledge that I played an important role in this. I appreciate the gratitude, I really do. It touches me. But I didn't do this alone. We rose from these depths together. We raised an army to advocate for the Ghost Army, and that is how we won the war. In the end, we had to make our case on the merits to the offices of 370 congressmen and senators. People in the know told us it couldn't be done. Those same people marveled afterwards that we did it. I still marvel at it myself. It's a testament to our democracy that a handful of passionate citizens on their own can not only make themselves heard, but can build support for legislation passed by the House, needed to get legislation passed by the House and Senate and get it to the president's desk. And so justice was done. 80 years later, Bernie and John and Seymour and all the other soldiers have been officially honored by the U.S. government. They have been placed in the pantheon of American heroes. I hope it's an inspiration that every one of us can make a difference. As has been mentioned a few times, I began researching and telling the Ghost Army story 19 years ago. And today is the culmination of all his efforts. I have to say, I feel a little bit like George Washington when he addressed his officers in Newburgh, New York after the war. "Gentlemen," he said, "you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray, but almost blind in the service of my country." My sight's doing okay, but I definitely boast substantially more gray hair than when this project started. My inspiration all the way through has been the men who served in this unit, who wrestled with inflatable tanks, boomed sound effects on the battlefield, sent fake messages, impersonated generals. It is a good job, I think. Stood guard at phony headquarters and carried out the 1,001 details of the deceptions that fooled Germany on the battlefields of France and Luxembourg and Germany itself. They are your fathers and grandfathers, husbands and uncles. I've gotten to know many of them over the last years and then watched them depart one by one. The Ghost Army is becoming an army of ghosts, but thanks to you, it is a story that will continue to be remembered. On May 15th, 1945, a week after VE Day, Ghost Army soldier John Jarvie got a pass to visit Luxembourg City, and he remembered it as the night the lights officially came back on after years of wartime blackout. And here's how he described it. "Now, if you've been in the darkness for all that time and your lights are going on, that's spectacular. And the city was mobbed. The town square, you didn't see anybody until the lights went on, and suddenly you realize there's thousands of people here. What a feeling. All the blinds in the houses opened, the streetlights went on, people cheered, they carried torches. It was absolutely thrilling to see." Well, the lights have gone on for the Ghost Army, and it is thrilling to see. I am honored to have helped make it happen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. God bless. Thank you. Okay, we're not. As General Stanton said, your hands must be getting tired by now. The buses tomorrow leave at 8:45, is that correct? So they're leaving at 8:45. You went through it this morning. If you're coming with us tomorrow morning, it's the same drill. It's just 15 minutes later. Bus is leaving at 8:45. We are going for the people who ordered medals. We have folks who are going to help you get those medals, and that's in back at the desk out in back where you checked in for the dinner. And I'll also be out there trying to sign some of the books that people have purchased tonight and chat with you all. Thank you so much.